Okay, so also I'm going to go over some expressions you can use to give recommendations and advice in Spanish. You can use the verb tener or the expression tener que, in which you conjugate the verb tener for who has this obligation. And that's just telling people what they have to do. Like if someone says to you, I'm tired, you can say, sí creo que tienes que dormir. You need to, it's kind of like you have to sleep. Tienes que trabajar más, perdón, tienes que dormir más y trabajar menos. Or you can use I, K, and I you don't have to conjugate. Tener que, you're going to have to conjugate that tener out for the various subjects. So whoever the subject is will impact which spelling of tener you're going to use. You could use tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, and tienen. Okay, but when you use IK, you just use IK, and es necesario, or es bueno, es importante, or es conveniente. For all of those expressions, you just use them as they are. You don't need to change your ser for different people because you're saying that thing is important. Like sleeping more is important, or doing exercise is important. And because it's going to always be and more than likely an infinitive, you're not going to change them, okay? So here, para estar en forma hay que hacer ejercicio. So if you did that using tener, you would need to conjugate for you, like saying to be in shape, you'd say tienes que hacer ejercicio. But if you don't want to worry with conjugating out the verb, you could say para estar en forma hay que hacer ejercicio, o es necesario hacer ejercicio, o es bueno hacer ejercicio, or es importante hacer ejercicio. Okay, so that's pretty much all that there is to talk about that. So let's just do some practice. Here you've got some expressions. So para no tener estrés, blank que comer productos frescos y naturales. You can put tienes que, es necesario que, es importante que, or I que. You can use any of those. So I would plug in, actually let's just write them over here so we've got more space. You could do, well, I'll just show you. So let's just do it like this. So you could say, hay que comer productos frescos y naturales, okay? Or you could say, tienes, maybe I should make these a little bit smaller. Tienes que comer productos frescos y naturales. Or you could even say, okay, so you wouldn't use es necesario. Okay, so let me do this. Es necesario, es importante, and es bueno. Actually, let's do it like this. If you see the K that starts the second part of the sentence, you're gonna use I or tienes, okay? If you do not see the K, these guys do not go with K. Then you would use es bueno, es necesario, es importante. Okay, they would just go straight next to an infinitive. So for blank que comer productos frescos y naturales, your only options are I or tienes. You could do either or. Hacer mucho ejercicio físico. There you could say it's importante, es bueno, es necesario. So you could say es bueno, meaning it's good to do a lot of physical exercise. Or you could say es necesario, it's necessary. Let me see if I can that up a little bit. it's necessary to do a lot of physical exercise. Or you could say, es importante. Es importante. It's important to do a lot of physical exercise, okay? But here you cannot put hacer. I and tener both have to go with the preposition que, or you can't use them to give recommend or make recommendations. Okay, so I'll just leave as bueno here. Okay. Blank, disfrutar de las relaciones sociales. This is another one where you could either say es bueno, okay, or you could say es necesario, okay, or you could say es importante, okay, but you cannot, here again, because there's no que, you cannot use I or tienes. Blank, tener aficiones, so you could say it's good to have aficiones, which are like hobbies or interests. You could say es bueno. You could say es necesario. Or you could say es importante. It's important. I'm going to leave es necesario, just so we're using them all. Es necesario tener aficiones. Blank, que dormir bien. You could say tienes, like you have to sleep well, or I que, which means basically the same thing. I que dormir bien. Para jugar bien al fútbol. Okay, so this is the next one. And so you're doing the same thing here. Danny had a chance to interview Fernando Torres, the Spanish soccer player, in this interview. And let me just check my time before. Okay. Danny had a chance to interview Fernando Torres, the Spanish soccer player. In this interview, Fernando gives some advice to people who want to be good soccer players. Complete their dialogue with the correct forms of ser, tener, or I. So if we have que, we're not going, let's see. Fernando, ¿puedes dar unos consejos a los chicos y chicas que quieren jugar al fútbol? Pues claro, lo primero es que you can either do I or tienes que tener. I'm going to put I just because we already have tener here. But you could have I or tienes que. So, lo primero es que hay que tener constancia or tienes que tener constancia. Okay. El número dos, blank, que practicar todos los días. You could use I or tienes. I'm just going to put tienes because I used I before. So tienes que practicar todos los días. ¿Y qué más? Además, blank, importante. Here we don't have a case, so we can't use I or tener. We're going to put es, because remember we have a couple of expressions with es. Es necesario, es importante, es bueno. So I'm just going to put es here. Es importante estar en forma. Okay, claro, y comer bien, no. Sí, blank, que comer bien. I would put I or tiene. I'm going to put I here because I used tienes in the last one. And notice that there's a que. Since there's the preposition que, it takes I or tener. Que comer bien, poca grasa, mucha proteína, y blank, muy importante. Here I don't have a case. And remember, one of our expressions is es importante. Muy just means very. So es muy importante estar hidratado, beber agua y ver partidos de fútbol, por supuesto, of course. Here again, I don't have the que, so I'd put the es. Es fundamental, they didn't give you, but it's the same thing as es importante, es necesario.